So yeah, this workshop is going to be about creating your dream portfolio for a software engineer, web developer type of portfolio. And the reason why I wanted to create this is because I have a really cool portfolio, and it's literally been the reason why I've gotten many interviews and jobs. So I hopefully I'm able to give you some advice and tips on how to make a portfolio that can help you in your job search or just in your general like personal brand working in tech. So for the agenda, I'm going to talk a little bit about myself. Well, actually, a lot about myself the whole time, but I'll do a little intro. And then if you want to follow along with the coding that's at the end, I'll give you a little list of things you need to do. And then I'll talk about what is a portfolio, why should you make one, do you need one, and stuff like that. And then I found a bunch of examples from people I know, people I admire, from like super amazing creative ones that are way better than mine. So if you think mine is cool, I have some that are cooler, and some that are really simple. So you don't have to be Picasso to make a really good portfolio. And then I talk about how my portfolio has gotten me every job I've gotten is because of my portfolio, and how you can build your own. And then if we have time, hopefully you have time, we could do coding with Contentful. So yeah. So about me, I'm Brittany Walker. I'm a senior developer advocate at Contentful, and a developer advocate, if you're not aware, is like a kind of a mix between a software engineer and a marketing person. So to use Contentful, people need developers to use Contentful. So in my job, I teach developers who use Contentful how to use Contentful. So I do blog posts, tutorials, workshops like this. I speak at conferences, I make videos. And then internally, we will say, hey, our developers in the Discord keep asking about this bug or this feature they want. We tell our engineering, they might add it to the roadmap, things like that. So that's my current job. I was not in tech previously. I did not go to school for tech. I was a government major. I worked at a nonprofit for my first job after college. I did marketing for like conferences and stuff. And then I worked at a law firm doing legal practice management. And my job was very like, there was a hierarchy where like I was stuck at coordinator level and you couldn't go up unless somebody like died or left. So I was like, oh man, I need to figure out some other career so I can move up more easily. And I also was a little into tech. I knew a little bit HTML, CSS. So I started learning how to code. I kind of accidentally joined a coding boot camp, which I'll talk about later. And my first tech job was as a WordPress developer. And then I got a job as a software engineer at a retail company. And now I'm a developer advocate. In those three tech jobs, all of them, the interviews I had, they were like, hey, we interviewed you because your portfolio. And then also, so my portfolio, my URL is musicalwebdev.com because I like musicals, not because I have any musical talent. So that's been my personal brand since 2017, I think. And yeah. So later on, so I made a template for like a really simple portfolio. So you can try out like using a template and adding in your own projects and things like that. If you want to follow along with that, you will need to create an account on contentful.com, a free account. Do not pay the $400 a month. Don't do that account, do the free one. If it asks you to do a template, you can say no, but it's okay if you already said yes. You also need Node on your machine, and it needs to be at least version 18.17. And then you need a terminal or command line and text editor. And then we'll use the code. And then we'll go over it again when we get to the coding, but that's the stuff you need. And the project that I made is just this really simple portfolio website. On the side, it has your name. I just made up this person. This is not a real person. Like what your job is, where you're from, a little about me. And then here I had made up some projects. So like a little Adopt a Pup, which is an app to find dogs in your area to adopt, and a tune track, which tracks their concerts that they like and stuff like that. So your projects, your socials at the bottom, links up here to your GitHub and resume or your CV if you want. And then when you click on a project, it opens up into another page where you can put more info. So this is like a really simple template that you could use or find another template somewhere else, but this is basically like a typical setup of a portfolio. So that's the project we will code later. So let's talk just about portfolios in general first. what is a portfolio? So this definition, career portfolios help document education, work samples, and skills. And this definition is from a super reputable source called Wikipedia. And yeah, basically it's just a place to just show off what you've created and also a little bit about yourself. Because in tech, they want you to prove that you know how to code. So this is a good way to do that, with especially if you don't have actual work experience yet. So the anatomy of a portfolio. Typically, you'll have like some kind of hero or header section with like your name, your job title, or the job title you aspire to be, or like the tech you're into. Sometimes people have images. Um, you also typically people have some kind of about me section. This is my about me section, just like my title, and then some fun facts about me, and then links to my socials that I want to share. Just be careful about which socials you put on here, because you know, you don't want to put the ones you don't like. If you wouldn't want your CEO to see it, then don't put it on here. So put just, you know, be careful about Instagram if you don't want people to see it, you know what I mean? So typically people put like Twitter, GitHub, LinkedIn. The little cube is code pen. Um, and then usually you'll have some projects. So this is an example of what that could look like. A lot of people have like an image, the name of the project, a sentence about it, and then it links to GitHub, or it links to another page, or it links to the live project. And your projects could be anything. It could be a website, it could be an app, it could be a case study, like you're researching for something and this is your research. It could be articles and whatnot. And I have more examples of different projects you can do later. And then optional, you could have a navigation if your portfolio becomes more complex. Like my portfolio is one page, so my navigation is just going down the page, but these ones, they have different pages. They have an about page, a blog page. The bottom one, this right here, they have a little toggle to turn their portfolio to night mode and light mode, dark mode and light mode, which I thought was pretty cool. And then some people also have a blog in their portfolio. And these are just examples. Like you just do a simple list, or you can have images and make it more styled. So this is kind of some of the stuff that could make up your portfolio if you want. But it's completely up to you what goes in your portfolio, because it's yours. So, you know, that's cool. We have all that stuff, but like, why should you make one? So here's some benefits of making a portfolio: networking and personal branding. Like people literally know me as musical web dev, and they like remember that. So it's really helpful for people to remember me, and just they'll be like, hey, I remember you're musical web dev. You want to come speak at this conference? Or like you want to write this article? So it's nice to have like some kind of personal brand or online presence. It can help you stand out during job searches, but it's not guaranteed. Also, it's proof that you can code, um, and that you can solve problems. And then it's also a great way for yourself to track your skills and your accomplishments and what you've learned, and just a great place to keep all of your stuff organized. And it can provide a way for people to contact you easily. Do you have to have one to get a job as a software engineer? No, you don't have to have one. I know people who've gone to coding boot camps, didn't have portfolio, and they got a job. You don't have to have a portfolio, but it helped me a lot. So I would suggest making one, even a simple one, but you don't have to have one. And also, I gathered some like opinions of hiring managers of like, do they care about portfolios? Do they look at them? And someone was like, I always look at it if someone provides a link on their resume. And then someone was like, I never look at them. I was like, great, that's awesome. There's no consensus here. Someone was like, I don't expect it to be there, but during the interview, we can talk about it. So it gives me an extra thing to talk about. And someone else was like, we will waive the technical interview if the portfolio is really amazing, which I think is great because I hate technical interviews. Um, and then some people were like, actually, I don't care about portfolios. We just look at prior work experience. So, you know, so there's not really a consensus in the industry of like portfolio or not. But I personally would make one if you can, but you don't have to have one. They may or may not look at it. But I think for yourself, it's a great thing to have. So speaking about who's going to look at it, so the different types of people who might look at your portfolio. So if you apply to a job, the recruiter, so whoever's in HR, who may or may not understand your job, might look at it, maybe. Your hiring manager might look at it, maybe. And maybe your team members and your colleagues, maybe they might look at it. I don't know. So like, we don't know who's going to look at it because different companies do different things. Like when I was on the interviewer side, sometimes I had no time to look at people's resume or portfolio before the interview. So sometimes you have time, sometimes you don't. I like to look at them because I'm nosy and I want to see what people are doing, but some people don't have time to look at it. But the one person that I think is most important is you. You'll look at your portfolio. So I would make it for yourself. Even, and don't worry about like trying to impress a hiring manager or recruiter because you don't know if they're going to look at it and you don't know what they're going to look for. So instead of having anxiety about what do these people want, just make it for yourself. Do what you want in your portfolio, and hopefully that'll be successful for you, because that's what I did. I just do whatever I want and I put the projects I wanted in my portfolio, and it's been great for me. So talking about my personal portfolio journey. So this is my current portfolio. So like I said, I like musicals. So I made my whole portfolio musical themed. So this is a playbill. So like you typically when you go to musical, you get a book that has like the cast and like info about the show. That's a playbill. So and then I added a terminal to be like code and musicals together. And I just made this one day, and I've had it for like 4 years now. And this is the setup of my portfolio. I have a hero header section. I have my nav, but it just jumps down to different parts of my page. I have different types of projects where I'm tracking stuff personally. Like I want to track all the musicals I've seen. So I made a project for that. I tracking the books I read. So I made a project for that. These are all the other projects that have to do with musicals, just fun ones I made, projects I've made to help teach people things, etc. So this is all the writing and stuff, teaching and writing I've done. So this is my setup. It's just one page, actually really simple, and it's only built with HTML and CSS. I'm not using any kind of framework or anything. So that's my current portfolio. And when I first started out, this is what my portfolio looked like. So I said 2016, I started learning how to code. And 2017, I started the coding bootcamp. Basically, I went to a meetup and it was like intro to jQuery. And I was like, oh man, this is so interesting, but kind of hard. And then looking back, it was not hard, but I thought it was hard at the time. And I went to this meetup, and the guy teaching the meetup was CEO of this coding bootcamp called Thinkful. And he was like, hey, if you want to do a free trial of the bootcamp. So I was like, sure, I'll do a free trial. So I started doing a free trial, and then like a month later, they're like, hey, can you pay now? Because it's been a while. So I started doing the coding bootcamp, and during the bootcamp, I made this portfolio, and I had one quiz on here. This is a quiz, a Hamilton, the musical quiz, made with JavaScript. I was making these little CSS images, like images with HTML and CSS. And then I made this landing page about Spock with HTML and CSS. And that's all my projects on this is my first portfolio. It's really simple. It's like very similar to my current one, just one page. The links go to the section. But that was my first portfolio that I ever made. And so these are my projects that I had. And then 2017, December, I can't remember, November, December, I finished the boot camp. And then my portfolio did have a glow up because I had learned things. I knew how to code now. So this is what my second iteration of my portfolio looked like. And by now I had projects from my boot camp. So this is a project from the boot camp where we had to use the API and JavaScript. We had to do a full stack project in the boot camp. So this is what this is. All of my projects about musicals. So I've been doing the musical thing since 2017. On my boot camp, we were going to make this course to learn CSS, etc. But similar thing, one page. just showing my projects. And this is the first time where my portfolio got me a job. So my first tech job, I got it was for a digital agency called Social Driver, where they made websites for nonprofits in Washington, D.C., usually in Washington, D.C., and they use WordPress and Drupal. I did not know WordPress or PHP, which is a language used for WordPress. And I just applied to it randomly. And HR called me for a phone screening, and she was like, can you rate yourself 1 through 10 WordPress? One being like, don't know, 10 being I'm an amazing expert. And I said like 3 because I knew I couldn't learn WordPress or PHP in like a week for the interview. So I said 3, I don't really know it that well. I kind of use it a little bit, but I don't really know it. And they still set up an interview with me. And I was like, okay, cool. So I go to the interview, and the director of engineering was there, and like director of strategy, I think. And they were like, yeah, we're interviewing you because of your portfolio, especially because this map project, this mapping musicals project I made, because they made maps for nonprofits. And I just randomly made this map because I wanted to know a random fact about the Tony Awards and where the musicals are set. If musicals are set in a certain place, do they win more Tony Awards? So I just randomly made this for fun. And they were like, we love this map. And I was like, wow, okay. So I got an interview for a company where I did not have experience with WordPress or Drupal or PHP. And that's all the stuff we used. And it was just because I had made a project on my portfolio that they thought was cool. And in the interview, they asked me to just talk about my projects. I talked about the mapping musicals and the bit theater project, and that was the interview. And then I got the job, and I worked there for almost 2 years. So that's the first time my portfolio helped me get a job that I did not know the language. And then with my current iteration of my portfolio, summer 2019, I was working at Social Drive, and I was like, I kind of want to do like a more of a product engineering job, like where you're on an engineering team. Because at the agency, we'd work like by ourselves. So each developer would work on a project by themselves. So I wanted to work more on a team. So I started applying to different types of jobs, and I sent my resume to one of those companies where you um, upload your resume and then the companies contact you. And the company I use is out of business now. They got bought by another one. Oh, is my sound off? Oh, okay. Um, so I submitted my resume, and the companies contact you, and the VP engineering contacted me, and he was like, hey, let's have a chat. I'd love to chat with you about this job. I work at Framebridge, and which is a company that makes picture frames. So like a bunch of my frames back there are Framebridge that I got for free. And he's like, I work at Framebridge. We use Angular and Ruby on Rails. I've never used Angular or Ruby on Rails. So I was like, okay, I guess we can meet. But I don't know Angular or Ruby on Rails. And then we talked on the phone. He's like, yeah, you made a project in Vue. It was my theater log project, my project tracking the shows I've seen. And he's like, you made this project in Vue. We're actually switching from Angular to Vue. So we thought your project was really cool. And since it seems like you're learning Vue, we'd love for you to be on this team that's building stuff in Vue at our company. And I was like, okay. So I did. I was like, okay. I ended up working there for 2 years again. But yeah, I just made that project because I thought Vue, the people who made Vue were cool on Twitter. So I was like, let me make something in Vue. And then I also wanted to make a project to track the shows I seen, because I was like looking at my playbills and I was like, oh man, I forgot I saw this show, or I forgot I saw this other show. So I wanted to track it because I was forgetting what shows I seen. So I just randomly decided to do it, make a project for myself, and it ended up catching the attention of the VP engineering, and I ended up getting that job. And then for my current job, same thing. I applied to a bunch of developer advocate jobs, and they're like, yeah, your portfolio is really cool. It's interesting. It's different from a lot of other people's. Most people don't have a portfolio that's themed around musicals. So it like stood out to a lot of people. And I had so many interviews where I did not know the programming language at all that they currently use, but they're like, you seem like you can learn stuff. You have a lot of variety in your projects. You seem really creative from your portfolio. So like, we'll interview. So yeah, that's my journey with my portfolio and how it helped me get jobs and interviews. So then I have put together a bunch of examples of portfolios I like from people in the tech industry, just to give you examples of other types of portfolios. Because my portfolio is definitely like unique. So you don't have to make your portfolio like that. So I'm just going to go through a few of these different ones. So Brittany, her name's also Brittany. She has this type of portfolio, which is more what the typical portfolio you would see, where it has her name, except about me section, and then it lists her jobs in a sidebar, and then her projects here. And the projects just go directly to like the website for the project or the GitHub for the project. And apparently her project is very, very popular, and lots of people have used it as a template. So she has a link to her GitHub here for her portfolio. And she says, yes, you can totally fork this and copy it and use it, just give her credit for it. So this is definitely, and it's also like black and dark mode and lots of devs like that. So this is like one type of portfolio you could totally make. And then here's another one that has a little bit more design going on, has a little bit animation, some interactions here. See, it's like really fun and cute. She has a section for her writing, goes to her blog, different posts that she wrote for different publications, her speaking stuff. And you see how it's really cool, but it's also still simple. Like it's only a few colors, one like just white text. You don't have to be super designery to make a cool portfolio. Like if you wanted illustrations like this, you could pay somebody to make an illustration of you and then put it in your site. And here's the like light mode and dark mode that she has. Let's see, who else do I have? Oh, okay, that one's, and then an example of one that is very simple. If you're like, I cannot design stuff. This is a good example. There's lots of people have portfolios like this where it's just a lot of text and a little bit of color, but just text. And you can just list things. Like you could just list your project and link to GitHub or link to the project. And portfolios like this are great. And it's really simple, but it still looks like she put effort into it. And this site is open source, so you could go copy it and make your own version of it as well. So those are some examples of portfolios that I thought were really cool. And then there's lots of other ones in here that are linked in the slide link that I put in. Let me actually put the slides again, just in case. Oh, y'all are like guessing what I'm gonna mention because I'm about to show Bruno's portfolio. Let me answer this question. Do all your projects actually exist as hosted websites, or do some of them only exist on GitHub and anyone viewing them have to download them and view them on local? So I answered that question first. All of my projects are live, except for this one because it's broken, because it's old and I didn't want to update it. And so what I did was I was going to update it and I never did. So I still have the repo and I just have all these screenshots of it, but it doesn't work anymore. But all of my other projects are live. So like this periodic table of musicals, live. My website tracking my books I've read is live. Because I'm a front end developer, so I like the looking pretty stuff. So all my stuff is live. It doesn't have to be if you're like making like more productive things like scripts or whatever. But if you can make it live, I would definitely make it live, because when I was an interviewer, I would rather just quickly look at the live version than go in your code and like look all around, because I don't have time for that. So definitely, if you can make it live, do it live. And I have later resources of how to host things for free and whatnot, but definitely most of my stuff is live. If I, on the interview side, I probably would not download anything because it's too much work. So if you can't make it live, I would just have a really good README. So not this one, sorry, this one. Like I just have a really good README with like screenshots of what it would be like if you downloaded it locally. I just have really good README. But as an interviewer, I don't have time to download everything. So I definitely would get it live if you can. And then also all the portfolios hosted on Contentful, HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, or can you host an app on Contentful? Contentful, you can use any programming language you want. So it's a headless content management system, which means you can choose whatever programming language you want to use with it. You have to create the front end yourself. Contentful is just the content part. But you don't have to use Contentful. You could use, later on, I have examples of other things you could use, but basically you should be able to host it for free, no matter what language you're using. But for Contentful, you can use anything. So my website though is only HTML and CSS. My portfolio is actually not on Contentful, it's just HTML and CSS. Okay, let's see what else y'all are saying in here. How much does it cost to keep these projects live? You should be able to host them for free, and I have a list of places. The only cost for me is the custom domain. So I have musicalwebdev.com. So you have to pay for that, and it's usually like $5 to $15 depending on the ending. So .com is like probably the cheapest, but you could do like .io, .codes or whatever. And then if you have a backend, you might have to pay for storage for backend. So you shouldn't really be paying a lot, but if you code it yourself, the only thing you really should be paying for is your custom domain. If you don't want to code it yourself, that's where you might have to pay money. And I have a slide about that because I tried to find free ones and I couldn't find free ones for like not coding it yourself. So if you can code it yourself, your only cost is your time and your domain. And I would definitely suggest doing a custom domain. I also have custom domains for my project. So like theaterlog.com, I have that. So I have like 10 custom domains. You don't have to go that far. You could just like for my periodic table of Broadway, I'm hosting on Netlify and I just have their default URL. So you could just do that and that's free. But for most of my projects, I do have the custom domain because I'm extra like that. So yeah, so there's these examples and in the slides, I linked to them as well, but I just thought these were cool. And like, I tried to show a lot of different vibes, like super colorful and girly and like more minimalistic. And also Salma right here, she used to be a developer advocate at Contentful and her site is on Contentful. I have this Wapalizer app here and it can tell you what a site is built on and her site is Contentful. So that's an example of a Contentful one. And then here's some more people, another like really bare bones one, some 3D stuff. And then someone mentioned Bruno Simon. So I want to show y'all 3 really cool ones that are very, very cool, but you don't get scared. You don't have to make your portfolio like this, but these are really, really cool. And I just wanted to show you as inspiration for like, you could make something like this. So let me find, sorry, I have 50 million tabs open in preparation for this. Okay, so the first one I want to show you is Lynn Fisher. She's an illustrator and designer and developer, and she makes really cool projects. And I'll mention some before, but her portfolio, every year she redoes her portfolio. So this is one of them where you change the size and it like, she makes really, really cool portfolios. And here's another example. So every year she redoes her portfolio in a different style. And her current one is this. And it's just really, she is really cool. It's really creative. And that's something you could do. And these are all her examples. She has examples from 20. So here's her website in 2007. And then to now with the walking person. It's really cool. So here's an example of like a really creative portfolio like this. with this kind of portfolio, your portfolio is the project. You don't even need any other projects. Your portfolio is good enough as a project. And then Bruno Simon, which somebody mentioned in the chat already, he does a lot of 3D stuff with code. And if you open this, it might make your computer blow up. It's like my computer's fan's about to turn on, but like I'm driving a little car right now. I'm using the arrow keys and driving. I can't driving around, and somewhere over here is his. Here's his projects. So he has this 3JS, which is what he used to make this course and other projects. And it's just super cool and fun. Like this is very creative, and you could do something like this if you want to. And then also this other one I thought was cute is by this person named Robbie, and they made like kind of like a Mario type portfolio. Like here's their about page section, and then I'm just pressing the arrow keys, and they live in New York. They like basketball. And it's just like, you know, you can get really creative with your portfolio, or you could do the text-based one. You can do copy Cassidy's. So you could go really fun, or you can be really simple. But I just wanted to show this as inspiration of different things you could do. Okay, sorry, let me look at the chat really quick. Is it feasible to use Contentful to handle timetable or bookings? Have you seen anyone integrate system with the Contentful site? Yes, people have done that. Like on our website, we have a section for case studies, and probably there's one around booking and stuff like that. But yeah, you can use Contentful for that. Any domain recommendations you can use in UK? So same as Nelly, I use Namecheap for everything. And yeah, it's like really cheap. Like before this workshop, I actually was checking it out. So if I change to British pound and I do like web dev with 2 V's, here's the pricing. So like for .com, it's £8 a year. XYZ, it is £2. .io is 34 because a few years ago, .io became popular because we were running out of .coms. So people were doing .io. So that became really popular. I think right now bot is popular because the AI stuff. So it's £50 a year, but they do change. Like it does change. Like bot was not £50 a year before the AI stuff. And then there's like other ones, like you could do .love if you want, .tech. Just if you do a weird one like XYZ, some people might think it's spam if you send it to them. So just keep in mind who you're sending it to. If you're doing like, if you're sending it to people in tech who are used to seeing things besides .com, then it's fine. But like if you are applying to jobs that are not in the tech industry, the recruiter might be like, I don't know if I should click .xyz. So just think about what ending you want, but they're pretty cheap. I think like £2 to like 15-ish pounds. And I have been using Namecheap and nothing and for everything. So it's been good. Okay. What's the difference between the yearly fee and the retail fee? Let me go back. I'm not sure. I think they're just trying to make you think there's a discount but it's like not really. When you do it, it should just be the bold amount. But it can change per year. So like I just got an email saying my .com is increasing. So but it should be like less than £20 a year unless you choose an interesting ending. But I definitely, and you can do your name, like my name is taken, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, my name costs £1,600. So I'm not gonna do that. But I could do BrittanyWalker.org if I wanted to. See, like AI is 60, like 60 is a lot. Normally they're like 10, 12. But Yeah, you could do your name, or you could try to come up with a brand name like I did. But yeah, so those are some examples of how you could design your portfolio. And then I also came up with some project ideas. So your portfolio could be a project itself. So definitely like Bruno and Lynn, those really interesting ones. That's a project by itself. That proves that you can code. It proves that you can design, etc. Or if you have any agency work or client work, you could put that in your portfolio as long as you make sure you have permission to do that. And then I just grouped some other types of projects like I like tracker projects, so like tracking the musicals I've seen. Someone made this site on Contentful where he and his family like building Legos. So he's been tracking all the Lego builds he and his family made, which I think is really cute. And Lynn, the woman who made the really cool resized portfolio, she has this project called Top Chef Stats because she really likes Top Chef, the TV show. And she's been tracking stats across all of the seasons, like who won, how they got eliminated, the chef outfits they wear. It's just a really fun, she just likes the show. And it's a really cool project, and every year there's a new season, so you can add to it, keep it up to date. So you can do stuff like that. If you like Marvel or something, you can make a tracking Marvel thing or something. Also, you could do learning projects. So this one's really neat. Let me see, where is it? It's called Mosquito JS. And basically, Tim wanted to learn about this web audio API. So he made this project that makes a mosquito sound. And you can do things to make the mosquito sound go away. And he's just like, I want to try this API. So he made this Mosquito JS, and it's like a little fun project. He has a lot of really fun random projects, but he just wanted to learn how to use this thing. So he made a random project. This other person, they have been doing like every time they learn a new thing, they'll doodle about it and then share it with other people, which also is a great way to learn. And this is a great little project to put in your portfolio. So this is about machine learning regression, things about that. And then I don't have a link, but back when React hooks first came out, somebody was like, oh, it's kind of confusing, I don't understand it. So they made a little tool to explain the different React hooks and how you use them. And that's a great example of a learning project. And then other things you could do is like, there's a lot of data out there, you could play around with it. This company called Pudding has these really great data analysis articles. So they did one on, these two people made one on the size of women's pockets in jeans and stuff because they suck. So they decided to analyze it in different outfits. And like all of this is codes, probably React. But it's like a really cool random project that is a great conversation starter. Like who would ever think to make a project about women's pockets? And they also have made one where it will connect to your Spotify and judge, or Spotify and Apple Music, and judge your music. And it's a little mean. So if you do it, just know it's a little mean. It will judge you. But this is a great project because you're using the Spotify API. It's a little complex and it's fun. And other things, and there's also a GitHub one where you put your GitHub in, it'll roast your GitHub. That one's very mean. Be careful about that one. Judged me so hard. They were like, oh, you like musicals, huh? I was like, you're a little too human. And then like I've been wanting to make something with the NASA API. That would be cool. So just like, using some data somewhere. And then other fun stuff. I don't know if y'all heard about this really small obscure game called Wordle, but that was a side project that he made with his wife, and New York Times bought it for $1 million. So, you can make a little fun game. Or when Animal Crossing was super popular during the pandemic, and I was one of the people obsessed with Animal Crossing. In Animal Crossing, they have a stock market kind of, but it's turnips instead of stock, and like stocks. And somebody made an app to track to help you estimate how much your turnips will cost in the stock market in Animal Crossing. And that's just a really niche, fun project that shows that you can do complex algorithms and math, and it's also fun. And they made it for themselves and other people because they like this game. And then another cool one is this quiz that a DC software engineer made. He basically, at the time, this is before Elon bought Twitter, tech Twitter was more active, and a lot of people had imposter syndrome, and they were like, I don't feel like a real developer. And he made a quiz that's like, hey, if you write HTML, you're a real developer. If you do only CSS, you're a real developer. So it's like helping you with their imposter syndrome. And then you could, of course, make something useful if you want. If you don't want to do any of this fun stuff, you can make something useful. Like maybe you hate doing your chores, so you make a little website or an app to gamify your chores and give yourself rewards for doing your chores. Or you can make something to help you track your budget. Or if you're a backend developer, a lot of what I see on their portfolios are scripts to do things faster or things like that. So it's just some examples of projects that you could make. I've obviously decided to make random stuff about musicals. Okay, the slides aren't working. Okay, I will add a link to the repo for the slides then, because I think I can't share this one because it's on my work Google Suite thing. But I'll put a different link on the GitHub repo for the slides. Okay, so you decide you want to do a portfolio, maybe you have a design, maybe you have a couple of projects you want to do. How do you make this thing? So you can do it from scratch, which I recommend if you are trying to be a front-end developer. Definitely do it from scratch. So you could do HTML, CSS like me. You could use a front-end framework like Next or Vue. You could use a content management system like WordPress or Contentful. But basically, choose what you want, and then you should be able to host it for free. And your cost would be your domain. And here's some other endings of domains that I've seen. And then take advantage of templates. So you don't have to start completely from blank. You could find somebody's portfolio who said, yes, you can use it as a template, and then start from there. So that's one way to do it. And then if you don't want to do it from scratch, unfortunately, I could not find very many free options to help you build your site, not without you coding. You could use LinkedIn. So here in my LinkedIn, under the featured, I do have my projects here. So you could use this as a way to have a little portfolio and have a link to it. If you're like, I really don't want to pay any money. So that's a good way because you already probably have a LinkedIn. You also could use your GitHub profile. So, oh no, I have too many tabs now. GitHub added a feature a few years ago where you can add a markdown file on top of your GitHub profile. It's a README file, and you could put whatever you want in there. So I have like a little paragraph and links to my projects. You can use this to make a type of portfolio if you want. And like, here's some other examples. So here's Monica's example. And then here's an example where this person has their last song they listened to. So I'm guessing they're connecting to Spotify or Apple Music somehow. And they have all their songs that they've been listening to. They have their chess games. They have the links to their favorite frameworks and stuff. So you could do that as if for a free version. So that's free, obviously. And then the other places are not free. So if you don't want to do it from scratch, like Notion, Framer, Canva, and Webflow, you can use them to make a portfolio. It's just you can't use a custom domain on the free plan. So your URL would be like your username.notion.so, or I'm guessing username.framer.com, whatever. So you can use it for free, but you can't have a custom domain. So if you're fine with no custom domain, then you could definitely use Webflow, Canva, Framer, and it'll definitely help you with the design part of it. And then if you want to pay, these are the prices that they were at least last week, a year. And then Squarespace and Wix are like about $200-ish a year. But I would recommend building it from scratch. Okay, let me see the chat. I need to turn a PDF into a web page or create a page where a PDF file can be downloaded. I saw there is a media. asset folder on Contentful to be able to achieve this there on the free plan. Yes, you can update, I mean, you could upload assets on the free plan in Contentful, but all of the turning it into a web page part would be on you with Contentful. It can host your item, but it's not going to be able to make it a site for you. And then finally, here's some resources to help you making your portfolio. So Figma is great for wireframing. So like before you start coding, I would really suggest making like a wireframe, even if it's just rectangles, to like plan out what you want to do. I like this website called Colors, even though it's spelled Coolers. And it's just a free site where you can generate color palettes. So I'm pressing spacebar and it's giving me random color palettes. So if you're like, I don't know what color to do, this can help you come up with the random colors. And they also have pre-made ones here that other people have done. So it can help you with colors, because that's where I struggle. I always want to do like rainbow color, but it's really hard to find like 5 colors that go together. CodePen also is a great place to find like to prototype. So if you don't want to start your whole project, you can test it out in CodePen. Code Drops is a site where they write articles about really cool animations and transitions and CSS things. Font Awesome is a tool I use constantly for icons. So like the icons in, let's see. Oh, they have a T-Rex one. But like if you wanted LinkedIn, you get LinkedIn here, and then it's code instead of an image. So you could change the color. You can animate it. You could do that kind of stuff. So Font Awesome is really great, and it's free. So you just have to get like your own Font Awesome link, and then you can use it for free. Are those color palettes accessible for color blindness? I do not know. Let's check. I don't know if they have a color blindness tool built in here. Yeah, it doesn't look like they have a color blindness tool. So what I would do is, oh, they do. So the little glasses here, they have a color blindness tool. So whatever palette I had, you could choose the different types of color blindness, and it'll show you how it looks. So I kind of thought they would, but that's great, actually. That's like actually really awesome. And that's another thing. Make sure that your website is accessible. So like, let me see. So the contrast between the font and the background of the font, make sure it's like enough contrast. And in Google Chrome DevTools, when you hover, I don't know if you can see, it says accessibility, and then it says contrast, and it has a little check mark. That means the contrast is good and it passes accessibility test. So just make sure to check to make sure that, you know, your contrast is good, you don't have weird background colors. And it's not just for if somebody's blind and looking at your websites, for everybody. Because if your contrast isn't great, a lot of people can't read it. But I would just do that by default. And then you can run the Lighthouse, the Chrome DevTools Lighthouse report, and it'll tell you what your accessibility score is and what to fix as well. So I'll make sure to do that. And then Google Fonts, if you want different fonts, is a good tool. It's free. And favicon. So you see all these little icons up here. My website has a little music note. That's a favicon. So this generator, you go here and basically drop the image, and it'll give you a favicon file, and you put that in your site, and then you could change this little thing up here. And so Cassidy's website, she has a little emoji that's like sweating. But that's just another way to make it a little personal. And then I thought the site was cool. It helps you make patterns, SVG patterns, and you can change the colors so you don't have to build it yourself. And then for design inspiration, personally, instead of looking at other people's portfolios, I look at different websites and like illustrations and color palettes, because if I find someone's portfolio I really like, then I want to copy it. But I don't want to copy somebody else's. I want to make my own. So I like these websites like One Page Love, where they have a bunch of one-page landing pages. because your portfolio probably is going to be one page. So you can see the different styles that people are doing. And maybe you're like, wow, I really like how colorful this is. I like that there's a bright color here and a dark color here. I want to do something similar. Um, and, you know, like I like these little things behind here. I want to do something similar. So I like using these kind of sites. And then Behance and Dribble are places where designers upload their portfolios. So I go here a lot to get help with color palettes. So I'll search like pastel and see how they're mixing pastel colors and things like that. And then awards is a website for website awards, like really, really, really amazing site. So again, another place for inspiration for really cool. Is it gonna load? Okay, there we go. Really cool sites, a lot of animations, a lot of cutting edge stuff. So it's a cool place to look for inspiration. Have I any tips for hosting a project that has a backend? I guess it depends on the backend, but I feel like over the past few years, the free options have lessened. So I personally try. I've been using Contentful for a backend. Like I try to use like a content platform for the backend, or like a Firebase or something that starts free, and you have to use a lot of you have to have a lot of pings to pay. But yeah, there's the free options have been very limited lately. A lot of it you have to pay now. Okay, so let's go ahead and try to code now. Yeah, I'm glad these sites help you. Like, I definitely didn't realize I had so much to say about portfolios, so I made this. So I'm glad it's helpful. So let's go ahead and make something. So again, we're going to make this. So now I can close all these 50 million tabs. Let me do that really quick so my computer doesn't die. Okay. So now we can make, oh, that's the wrong one. Right, let me grab the, oops. Just grabbing the link to the live portfolio. So we're gonna make this real quick. And I'm just gonna show you, say you find a template that you like, how can you customize it easily? So we're just gonna do that together. We're gonna use Contentful. So this is built on Contentful. This content is in Contentful, and I'll explain what Contentful is in a little bit. So if you want to use a content management system of some sort, it'll be pretty similar process for all of them. So we're gonna go ahead and try to do this together. We'll see how that works. So before we do it though, like I said, you should plan out your project. So this is like an example of a wireframe, like a really quick one. I just did in Google Slides with rectangles. So I'm like, okay, I have a homepage. I want a navigation. I want a footer. I want one side over here, one side over here. This side will have my projects. So like I would definitely suggest planning out your portfolio before you try to code it, and also your projects too. And I just use rectangles. You don't have to get super detailed. They don't have to be high fidelity. So we have our wireframe, and I want a hero section in here, about me section. We want to list our projects that we've made, and each project has a page when you click on it. And then in the future, I'm thinking maybe I could add blog posts, or I could put my talks in here, or I can have a things I use page, which let me show you an example of that. So this is Salma. She used to be DevRel at Contentful. A lot of engineers have this use page, uses, I use, and it just shows like stuff they use. So she streams, so she has all of her tools. But people also have like, here's what my PC is, or here's my keyboard, or they'll be like, I use Visual Studio Code. Here are all the extensions I use and stuff like that. So that's a cool page you can have. So maybe I want to have this in my site. And so I'm planning out what I want. And that's a lot of content. That's a lot of content. And my portfolio right now is HTML and CSS, but all this would be too much for HTML and CSS. There'll be a lot of manually typing. So using something like Contentful, like a content management system, can be really helpful to manage all that content. So if you want a blog and projects and things I use and talks and stuff, having some kind of system to help you organize your content is cool. So Contentful is a content management system. You probably heard of WordPress, similar vibes, except with Contentful, you can use whatever programming language you want. So WordPress, you use PHP. Contentful, you can choose what you want. And if you wanted to, like, if I wanted to add a blog to my current site and just HTML, CSS, that would be really annoying. So with Contentful, it'll be really quick and easy. And there's a free plan. Don't pay for it. Don't go on the paid plan. There's a free plan that totally will work for portfolio. You would never hit the limits unless you become the Wordle guy. Then you might hit the limits in the views for portfolio. But otherwise, you're good. So again, if you want to try to follow along, you need an account on Contentful. And in the onboarding, if it says do a template, you can say no, but if you said yes, that's fine. You need Node at least version 18.17. And to check if you have that, you could open terminal or command line or whatever you have and type node-v and it'll tell you the version. If the version is less than 18, it won't work. The project won't work. And then you need whatever text editor. I'm going to use VS Code. You can use whatever you want. And then you're going to need to go to the GitHub to grab the code. So I'm going to go check in the chat real quick. Are we supposed to be following along? Not yet. Not yet. I will go to Contentful in a second. So I will give y'all like a few minutes to make an account, check your node. And then just so you know, if you are coding along and get stuck or miss a step, the README has like super detailed instructions on how to do what we're about to do. So it's okay if you miss a step, you can easily do it later on your own. Yeah, anybody ready? Anybody have their Contentful account and they're ready to get started? Okay. Okay. I'm gonna go to the README. Okay, let me close more stuff while I'm waiting for you guys. Okay. I'm gonna go into Contentful really quick. Oh man. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I have other windows open that have like 50 million tabs open. It just looks like I have no tabs, but I definitely have a lot of tabs. Okay, so we're gonna start off in Contentful and then we'll go to the code. Your homepage might look different from mine. Yeah, your homepage might look different, but you'll be in Contentful and it'll be like a homepage. It's okay if you chose a template, but basically when you're first in Contentful, you're in something called a space. And this is equal to like a folder on your desktop or a GitHub repo. It's just like a container for your content. So that's what a space is. Go ahead and click on, and also mine might look different because we just updated the UI, but you should be able to see something at the top, this content model. Go ahead and click on that. And like, if you could type in the chat that you've clicked on it, so I know y'all are able to get to there. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Let me just move this over here. Good, good, good. Okay, so we're going to make a content model. So in this list right here, I said we want a hero section, an about me section, projects. We're gonna decide what kind of content we want and organize it. So we need a hero, we need about me, and we need projects. So we're going to build those up in here. And again, in the GitHub repo, actually, let me put this back over here. In the GitHub repo, it has all of the instructions and it lists like make a hero, put these fields in there. So if you miss a step, it's all in here. And yeah, okay. So I'm gonna click design content model, and I'm gonna start with the hero section. I'm just gonna call it hero. And in Contentful, this hero, this name right here is just a name for you, the people who log into Contentful, the backend. This right here is for the code. So they could be different if you want. But just make sure you spell hero correctly, because in the code is expecting it to say hero. So I'm gonna go ahead and create that. And now I can add fields. Yes. Here's the GitHub. Now I can add fields. So in my hero, I just want to have a title and a subtitle. So I'm going to click add field. And we have these different fields that are by default. So I'm going to add text. And I'm going to call it title. And make sure to spell it right, because it's expecting it to be called title. And I'm going to add and configure. And we don't need to change any of the settings, but you could do things like make this the entry title. You can make it required. You can say it has to be a certain length, things like that. So I'm just going to confirm, and we have a field called title. Was everyone able to make the first field before we start making the other ones? Sweet. Okay, cool. So we're going to add the next one. We're going to do text again, and we're going to add a subtitle. And this time we're going to do long text, because we want the subtitle. The subtitle could be longer than the title, you know. And go ahead and add a configure. And again, we don't need to change anything. And go ahead and confirm. And I'm just going to give y'all a second. Okay, looking good. And you can change the appearances of things. So we can make it a single line, multi-line. I'm going to change the subtitle to single line, and confirm that. So now we have made our hero. So if you can go ahead and save that. And then you can click the arrow to go back to the main content model page. And we have 2 more to make. So the next one we're going to make is our about section. So we're going to call this about. And make sure to spell it correctly. Create that. And we're going to add 2 fields again. Another title. And right now we're doing all this manually. And you might be like, this is kind of boring. It takes forever. You can do all this via code as well. And I'll show you. It's that is listed in the README, and I'll show you. But since it's workshop, we'll do it manually so you can see, get a feel for Contentful. There is a preview feature in Contentful, but I took it out of this portfolio. So, but I can show you another project that has the preview feature. But yeah, we have 2 preview features actually. So title, confirm. But yeah, I took it out of this project. So I didn't want the project to have a lot of complex stuff in it. I want it to be as simple as possible. And then the next one we're going to make is a description. And we're going to use this rich text one instead. And call it description. And make sure it's rich text. Add and configure. And rich text is like, we'll see later. It's like a WYSIWYG. What you see is what you get. So that's what WordPress a lot of WordPress fields are like. So you can bold things, you can underline things, you can make lists in a rich text field. The other text fields we made are just plain text. This one, you can add some pizzazz to it. And in this section here for field options, go ahead and uncheck all of the allow ones, just to make it more simple. So you only want the formatting to be blue, all this other stuff, let's uncheck it. And you'll see what the field looks like once we're done with this. And then you can confirm that. So you should have title, description, short text, rich text. And you can save that. Yeah, you can link to assets and rich text, but take it out for this because the project's really simple. So it's not gonna be set up for that. And then the last thing we're gonna build is our project. So I'm gonna call it project. And also a neat thing we added was that we have this generate content type with AI. So I could say create a project type with an image, title, and link. So I could have AI try to generate it and it'll suggest it for me. So it suggests a title, an image, and we don't have to manually do it. And then if you like it, if you don't like it, you can regenerate it. And so that's an option you can do, but we're doing it manually. So project, create, save. And then we have a few fields to add here. So for project, we need a title again. So title of the project, and it'll be short text. And you can immediately confirm that. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more, and then we're done with this part. This is always the part that takes the longest. And then we're going to add another text, and we're going to call it slug. So for this, I'm going to show you an example really quick. So in our oops, why did it go to Google? That is strange. That it didn't go to the page anyway. So in our live project, when I click on a project, in the URL, it says the URL /project/adopt a pup. This part, adopt-a pup, is the slug. And you can make that be whatever you want. I decided for it to be the title of the project. So if we add and configure it and then scroll down to appearance, you can choose slug. And then every time you type a title, it'll automatically make the title match the slug. So you're basically just saying what the end of the URL will be. And this is how we have a new page when you click on the project. So I'm gonna confirm that. And then for the next one, we're going to do text again, and we're gonna do GitHub link. And make sure your field ID is git, capital HUB, capital LINK. We're going to add and configure this. This is just going to be a link that you can send to your GitHub, or you can add one to send to your website if it's live, the project's live. And then down in the appearance, we're going to choose URL. So basically, it will only allow you to put URLs in this field. And I will confirm that. And then media, click on media for the next one. We're just going to do image. So we're going to have a little image for our project. Add and configure that. And we don't need to do anything special. You could just confirm. And the last two, text, a short description, and we're going to do long text. So this is like the sentence on the homepage. It's like, this app does this. And we're going to do short text for that, or long text, sorry. Long text, short description, and you can confirm. And then the last one is long description. Oops, sorry, I did the wrong thing. Add field, rich text, long description. Add and configure, and then once again, uncheck all of these allows. And we're just gonna do text for this. And confirm. So this is what it should look like for project. And again, the GitHub repo lists all of these and the field type, and if you need to pick an appearance or not. So if you missed one, it's in the GitHub repo. And you can go ahead and save that. Does anyone need more time to add the fields? Okay, cool. So we just did that all manually, and there's a way to do it not manually. So in the repo, there is this command you can run that will automatically do all that for you. So I exported the information, and then it will import it into your space. So you could do all that with a command as well. But I think when you're first starting out, you can do it manually to learn things. But if you realize, oh, I have a typo or something's wrong, you could just delete what you just did and run this command, and then it'll put the right one in there. Okay, so under content model, you should have about, hero, and project. So now we're going to actually add the content. So we just built the structure of the content, and now we're going to add actual content. So under the content tab, you click on add entry and then add hero. And I'm just going to put, hi, my name is Brittany, and I'm a developer advocate. You could put whatever you want, and make sure to publish this entry. So for like the next like 5-10 minutes, go ahead and add one hero, one about, and like 2 projects, and just fill it out with whatever you want. So for my about, I'm going to do about me, and then this is stuff about me. And for the project, I'm just making up something. For the image, just find a small image to add. I'm going to go to Emojipedia and copy an emoji. But you could just add any image you want. And once you add an image, you give it a name, and then you can select it from your computer, or you could search online. It'll load, and then make sure to publish the image. And then I can go back to the entry and my image is in there. And make sure to fill out every field in the project. And then I'll write a description. This tracks dinosaurs. And then you could write a longer description. And make sure to publish it. So I will give y'all like the next 5 minutes to go ahead and add your about me, the hero, and a couple of projects. And type in the chat when you're ready to move on to the next. I'm really sorry I missed this place, recreate a space. Yes. So do you have your space created?
I have a Contentful account. That's as far as I got. And then one of the kids distracted me. When I came back, I just missed that bit where you sort of got all set up. So I don't know how to get to this content model page.
At the top of your page, does it say, there's a content model tab?
No, there isn't. I've got a few tabs. I've got home, content, media, and apps. I've got the option to edit a page or create a new website page. And or I could skip the onboarding. I don't know
Oh,
if that.
skip the onboarding.
Okay, and then it says I have to enter the name of the space, which I think is blank.
Yeah, you can just enter
Just
whatever you want.
remove that. Okay, and then I've got to like quick links and insights.
So at the top, this has
And
a
now it says content model. Awesome.
cool. And then if you go to the GitHub repo, um, under step 2,
Yeah.
after this like section with the that shows the importing, it lists each content type you need to make. So you need to make a hero one, an about one,
Okay.
and a project, and it lists each field here as well.
Okay. That's cool. But initially just give the project name and then
Yes.
do I need to clone the repo?
Yes, that's the
Yes.
next step.
Okay, okay, awesome. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Is everyone able to make about hero and a couple of projects? Or do we need more time? We're gonna do GitHub next. We haven't done GitHub yet. We're just in Contentful right now. If you meet the GitHub field, just you could just type github.com. Just put any link for now. Oh, for the GitHub, you could just type github.com. Yeah. It doesn't have to be a real project, y'all. Just you just make up something random for now so that we can make sure your project when we connect to the code works, and then you can go back in and put your actual projects and stuff in there. The image. Okay, let me delete this. So for the image, click on add new media because you don't have any existing yet. Click on add new media, and then you can name it whatever you want. And then you can use an image from your computer, or you can search the web, or you can get an Instagram. Like they have all these options. I just I just downloaded a random image of an emoji. Upload that, wait for it to process, and then publish the image. Make sure it's green here, and then you can click back and your image should be here and it should say published. And then make sure your project is also published as well. Like when you're on the content page, they all should be green and say published. Anyone need more time? And again, the GitHub repo has the instructions as well if you're like, think you messed up or anything. Okay, I'm gonna go to how to connect it to your code. And then if anyone has issues, we can help you from there. So now you can go to the code in the GitHub and you can clone the GitHub repo. You can download the zip if you don't have Git. However you want to get the code onto your computer, go ahead and do that. So I'm just gonna clone it. So I have my terminal here. What is the advantage of Contentful versus Google website? Contentful is definitely more robust and helps you manage your content better. You don't have to use Contentful though. It's helpful, but you don't have to use it. If you prefer Google website, then I would use Google website for your portfolio. It's whatever you prefer, to be honest. But I think long term, if you want to add more to your project, Contentful is a good option. So I'm cloning my project. Okay. So in your terminal, make sure you're inside of the portfolio folder. And I'm going to do npm install. And we're just installing this is a Next.js project, by the way. So we're installing all of the packages needed for this to run. And it should say it's added, type in npm install in your terminal, and you need to make sure you're in the project folder. And once you do that, it should hopefully work. If it doesn't work, it might mean your node version is not 18.17 and up. That's why you need the node version. You can fork it if you want. You can clone, if you clone it, then you won't be able to push to the GitHub. So you can fork it and then do it just however you want to do it. Basically, is up to you. You could just download the zip and then add GitHub later. So I just, okay, this is what I did. I went to GitHub. I decided to clone it. So I copied, you would copy this one. I copied the URL, or you could download the zip and then open the files, open the folder that way. Or you can fork it. I don't have the fork button because it's my account, but there should be a button where you can fork. Um, and it'll be on your own account. So whatever way you want to get the code. And then in your terminal, navigate to the folder where the project is. It's called Starter Portfolio. And then I ran npm install. And that will install the packages to get this working. But it's up to you how you want to get the code on a computer. Because if you don't have Git, then you can't Git clone. So you could just download the zip. And then once you npm install, it should say something like added 400 packages, which that's very interesting, 400 packages for this really simple project. So I'll give y'all a second. I'm using iTerm. And I customized this to be rainbow. I don't know if y'all could tell I like rainbow stuff from my portfolio from this, but I customized this to look like this. And it took forever. So your terminal's not working. Okay, I'll go through this and get everybody set up, and then we'll come back and help anybody who's getting stuck. But once you do npm install, oh, my VS Code theme is not interesting. Once you do npm install, open up your project in VS Code. So there's a command I can run called code that will open it. You might have to go into Visual Studio Code and open the folder. So just open the file, however you can. So you might have to do file, open folder, and then find the folder where your code is. Or if you have the code command, you can do code space dot. And then this is the code for the portfolio project. And right now, this code has no idea what content we just put in Contentful. So if I run the server right now, npm run, and you don't have to do this right now, because it's not going to work. If I run the server and I go to my local host, it should break. So it's trying. Yeah, so it doesn't work because it doesn't know where to get the data from yet because we didn't tell it we have our data in Contentful. So in your code, you're going to add a new file in the base directory. I'm going to add a new file. So I just right-clicked new file, and we're going to call it .env.local. And I'm going to paste what you need to put in here in the chat. Let me grab it. So we're going to give it some information from Contentful so that it knows where to get the content from. So I'm putting in the chat what you need to put in there. So we need to get our Contentful space ID, which is basically just an ID number for our space, because you can have multiple spaces. And we need to get an API access token. And we need to get a preview access token. So in your .env file, just paste these items in there. And then we'll go to Contentful. And in the settings, there should be like either a settings up here or a gear over here to settings. And you want to click on API keys. and you should have nothing. If you did a template, you might have something, but you can just make a new one. Is everybody able to get to the API key page? Not yet. Okay. Okay, cool. Cool. So just click on the giant button that says create an API key, and you can name it whatever you want. Because some companies are using this and they have like a ton of content, so they might have a bunch of APIs. So that's why you can give it a name. So go to settings. So if you're on the old design, there'll be a settings link up here. Or if you're on this new design that I have, there's a gear, click on the gear and click on API keys. And that's how to get to this API key setting. And then there's a blue button that says create API key. Give it a name and it'll create an API key. So on this page, it gives you your space ID, this API key we need to grab our content, and then preview API as well. So you're going to copy the space ID and put it in your .env.local. And don't put any spaces or quotes or anything. It should just look exactly like this. And then copy your delivery API key and paste it in for access token. And you can go ahead and copy the preview one, but I took preview out, but you can go ahead and put it in there. And these API keys, it's fine if other people see them because it's read only, so it can only read your data. Nobody can like change your data or anything like that. So that's why it's fine for me to show it right now. And once you do that, you can go ahead and save it. And basically this is now my code knows, grab the hero from my space, grab the projects from my space that I just published. The API info. Okay, so if you are on the API keys page, click add API key. And then you can give it whatever name you want. Add API key. And then on this page, copy the space ID to the space ID. Content delivery API is the access token. So access token equals the content delivery API. And then the preview access token is the content preview API. And then once you do that, if you did it correctly, and there's no errors or anything, if you run npm run dev in your terminal, it'll start the server. And in your browser, you want to go to localhost 3000. Localhost 3000. And then it should show your project that you added and your hero and your about. Is anyone able to get it to work? I see emojis. Is that good? Are those good emojis? Or yay, awesome. And then if you click on it, it should open the page as well. Yes, it worked. Awesome. So yeah, that's how you can use a template to connect to your Contentful database. And then I'm going to show you quickly in the code what's going on. You have an error with your image. Did you make sure to publish your image? So like go to the media tab and make sure your image says published, because it might say draft. So try that out and let me know. Yeah, let me show you the code really quick. And also, again, all of the instructions are in the repo, really, really detailed. So if you miss something, you can go back to the repo and, set it up. And also there is that command you can run at the beginning that will set up all the images, the project and all that stuff for you. So in the code, I just want to show you quickly how this is set up. And this is just how this project is set up. If you're using a different programming language or you have different preferences, like this is using TypeScript. If you don't want to use TypeScript, you don't have to. But basically, there is a function here that is, we're using the GraphQL API. GraphQL is a way to, like, if you want data from an API, you can choose specifically what you want. Instead of getting everything, I can say I only want a title or I only want an image. So you're using GraphQL API, and this is one way to set it up. And then to get the different items, like say to get the hero section, I'm running a GraphQL query and I'm saying, get me the title and the subtitle. Oops, that's not supposed to be comma. Oh well. Give me the title and subtitle from the hero. And then in my code, I call this and I get the information. So if you like wanted to add another section, like for instance, there are these social icons in here, they're just in the code. But if you're like, I want to put this in Contentful, what you would do, you don't have to follow along. What you would do is you would make a social media content type. So I'll just do it right now. Like say I wanted to put the social media into Contentful to make it more manageable. And I probably would have the link to my social media. So like my Twitter link or whatever, I'll make it a URL. And then I didn't mean to save. And then I also would have an image. Like say I want the logo, save that. Now in my code, I would make a function that grabs that info, and then I can now use that in my code. So it's pretty simple. Does the order of content matter in Contentful? No, it does not. If you mean this page, no, it doesn't matter. On the page where, like on this page here, like say I'm in my project, if you want to change the order of these items, in the content model, you can move them around here. So you could change like how that is, like this way. So I can make the image the second thing, save it, and then in my project, image is second. But the order doesn't matter. Yeah, so glad some of you were able to get it to work. I mean, that's all I had. I had to show you. That was just one quick example of using a template with Contentful, but of course you could use anything you want for your portfolio. Yeah, if you make your portfolio and you want someone to look at it, definitely message me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to look at it and give you feedback or advice. But yeah, I'm open to any questions or comments or anything you have to say. Thanks for coming. So question, can we mess around with the code inside VS Code, or do we normally operate from the Contentful side? So yes, if you want to change the color or the layout or anything like that, you would do it in the Visual Studio Code. If you want to change the actual content, like the words, you would do that in Contentful. So Contentful is just your content. It's not how it looks or anything like that. It's just the content. And then the VS Code is the code, and that's how it looks, and it's grabbing the content for you. If I have more than one project, i.e. portfolio mini project on Contentful, do I need to pay a paid account? No. You like side projects and portfolios are really small, so you could just have them in one account. In fact, let me show y'all. Let me see. So that was my work account. Okay, so this is where my theater log is. And in here, I have multiple projects. So I have my theater log project, which is theater, song, and show. I have the periodic table project in here. And I'm working on another project that's about Law and Order and musicals. And it's also in here. Because they're so small, I don't need to have, and this is on a free account. So the other account I was on was by an enterprise because that was my work account. This is a free account, and you can see how the style is different. We just updated the style. But I have 3 things in here right now. So as long as they're small, like if you were going to have 3 startups, then they're going to make you pay because you're going to hit the limits, but you shouldn't hit any of the payment limits with just the side project and portfolio. Where would you recommend people new to learn how to work with GitHub? I would say GitHub has, nope, that's not it. GitHub has a learning thing. And funny, I also have a Git and GitHub workshop. But GitHub has, they had like a learning, like a, I don't see it, but they definitely had like a learning section and I'm not seeing it. So it looks like it's just their docs now, but I would just go into GitHub and learn it this way. Also like let's see. I like Atlassian's um Git stuff because they tell it in layman's terms. I definitely do not recommend going to the Git documentation because it's super technical and hard to understand. I was reading it like I have no idea what they're saying. So I really like this one because it's great for beginners and explains it things in a beginner way. Atlassian is just a tech company. They have nothing to do with Git. But I like how they explain things, and GitHub definitely has like a GitHub University somewhere, but um, I'll try to find it, and I'll put it in the GitHub repo if I find it. But yeah, and also Code Academy is good too. And then I would just practice, like put anything you code, put it in GitHub, make a repo, and push to Git and try it out. Because you're by yourself, nothing, you're not going to break anything. It's just you. So, um, what would be the use case for utilizing Contentful in conjunction with code over pure Next.js and TypeScript X project? Um, what do you mean exactly, Nelly, with that? And then Natalie, yes, all these let me see. This theater log project and this periodic table project is in the same space right now. And then I'm working on another project that's also in that space. So like if I want to be more organized before these content type names, I could put the name of the project. Like I put theater log dash theater, theater log dash song, periodic table dash element. But it's just me. So so I'm not super organized. But yeah, so if you have any other questions, definitely you can message me on LinkedIn. Um, oh yeah, my Millennial Slave project is one of my favorites. Quickly, I'm gonna quickly show y'all because it's funny. So basically, in 2019, all these news articles were blaming millennials for industries failing. They're like, millennials are killing the car industry. I'm a millennial. Millennials are killing American football. They were doing all this. And I was getting so annoyed. I was like, we're not killing anything. Leave us alone. So I started making a list of all the things we killed. And so I made the list and then I never finished the project. And then in 2021, Netlify, which is where I host all my sites, they had this contest where they're like, publish a project that you started but never finished and we'll donate to charity. So I finally finished it. And basically, these are all the like traditions, industries that millennials have been blamed for killing. So, like, one of my favorites is they blamed us for killing baby names, just baby names. And for each one, I put a little sarcastic. I was like, yeah, of course, no baby names have been named since what we never killed. And then I also have the origin of the thing. I couldn't find the origin of baby names, so I put the origin of identity, which is 30,000 years ago. But I'm like, we did not kill this thing that's been around since 30,000 years. And all these industries are still alive. Like they said, we killed the car industry, and I said, sure, I teleport everywhere, of course. Nobody drives cars. I think a funny one is they were saying that millennials killed the European Union. So I just made this because it was funny, and I also was really obsessed with emojis at this time. So, but this was just fun project. It doesn't use a content management system. It's just in the code. We killed the 9 to 5 workday, and I said I wish that was true. But yeah, this is the kind of stuff I make. I just make random stuff. And then let's see, what else did people say? Oh, I guess, oh, okay. So the question is, what would be the benefit of having the content outside the code? Yes, it's easier to update. It's way easier because my website is HTML CSS right now. And I like it like that. But if I want to add blog, it would be so annoying to do blog posts in HTML and CSS. So Contentful, I could just drop it in those fields and then write one function that will automatically get it. So it just having it in Contentful makes managing your content way better. But if you have a simple site, HTML, CSS works out, or just putting in the code works. Oh, what is the Chrome extension I use to see the language a website use? It's called WAPalizer. WAPalizer. Oops. And there is a paid, I think, but it's free. WAPalizer. And it's pretty cool. It'll tell you, like if I go to this Atlassian thing, they're using Magnolia CMS, looks like. I don't know how this thing can tell what everybody's using, but it's really cool. So yeah, it's called WAPalizer. What is better for coding, Windows or Mac? It doesn't really matter. I think now it doesn't matter. It used to matter before a little bit, but now I think it doesn't matter unless you're doing something specific to Mac, like if you're trying to do code for Mac apps or iOS apps. And also like I think C# and C that kind of stuff is harder to do on Mac versus Windows. But if you're doing web stuff, whichever one you prefer. Quick question about GitHub. Yes. What is your question? How long should you spend on your first portfolio? Well, my first one was very simple. It was just one page and only had 3 projects on it. So I would just do something really simple and focus more on your projects, and then work on like the actual portfolio itself. Personally, I make sure my projects are small in scope and not super complex, so that I don't have to spend a lot of time outside of work working on the projects. So all these projects I made them, and then they still work, and I don't have to keep constantly updating them. So if you make like one giant project that has a backend and is full stack and it has like 30 different technologies in it, it's gonna suck to keep that up to date. So I would keep the scope small and don't worry about trying to make a startup or something. Just make something small. And yeah, that's what I would suggest. I have a load of unfinished projects on GitHub. Should I clean them up and make them private? Or is it normal to have 1 million? If we go to my profile, I have 240 repositories. You don't need to clean them up. It's fine. What I would do is use this README, this GitHub README, to call out the ones that are most important and pin the ones that are most important. Definitely do that. If you don't have any pinned and you have like 500, then yeah, that's bad. But as long as you pin them or put them in the README, then you're good. I have a ton of random stuff in there that are private, public, etc. So yeah, cool. Yeah, the Chrome extension is, oh, you're quick.
I just had it in my copy and paste from just copy and pasting it before. I think there's one other question has come in is Contentful similar to WordPress? I'm a bit confused.
Yes, Contentful is similar to WordPress, except in the past with WordPress, you had to use PHP, the programming language, to use WordPress. Now they do have a headless option, but I couldn't find a lot of info about it, so I don't know. But Contentful basically was in response to, we want to use whatever programming language you want. So you can use whatever programming language you want. So you don't have to use PHP. You're not trapped with just PHP. And also Contentful, you can customize a lot of Contentful a lot easier than, because I used to be a WordPress dev, so I understand what it was like working with WordPress. You can customize Contentful a lot. It's a lot easier for non-developers to use Contentful versus WordPress and to customize it. Like you can get a lot farther in Contentful, but I mean, you could also use WordPress for your portfolio if you want. I don't know if you can host WordPress for free though. That's the only thing. But yeah. So the main difference is that it's more flexible. Contentful is more flexible with what tools you can use. But yeah.